Am I the a-hole for kicking my mother out for throwing away my son's baking things because she believes that baking is only for girls? My 14-year-old son loves to bake, and he is really good at it too. He started with simple things like cookies, but now he can bake just about anything, from bread to pies, even cakes. Sometimes friends and people we know will ask him to bake them something, and he will charge them a small fee. My mother has always hated the fact that my son loves baking. She doesn't understand what kind of boy enjoys doing things that are meant for girls. Ironically, his younger sister hates baking. I tried explaining to my mother that there's nothing wrong with my son's love for baking and that she's being sexist, but my mother is stubborn and always makes sure to mention just how much she doesn't approve of it every chance she gets. She was visiting us for a few days, and I came home from work to find my son distraught. When I asked him what was going on, he told me that he came back from a friend's house, only to find that his baking things had disappeared. When he asked his grandma, she just said that now he can find a new appropriate hobby. He has a specific kitchen cabinet where he stores all his baking things, and sure enough, it was empty. They weren't in the trash either. I asked my mother what she did with my son's things, and she proudly told me that she got rid of them because I was clearly not going to do anything about it, and that I was a bad father for allowing it to go on as long as it did. These were approximately $200 worth of items collected over a period of time: hand mixer, scale, measuring tools, pans, etc. I told her that the only thing I have allowed to go on way too long is the constant disrespect for my son, and that she needs to apologize to him and either bring back his things right now or replace them. She stubbornly said that she is not going to do that, so I told her that first thing in the morning she needs to leave, and she's not allowed back here or around my children until she learns to respect their choices. She huffed and puffed all night and left in the morning. She was originally supposed to leave on Sunday, the day after my son's birthday. She even took the gift she had bought him and left with it. My stepdad called me to let me know just what a piece of turd he thinks I am for treating my mother this way and kicking her out like some random stranger. I told him that she did this to herself and hung up. Now for the top comments. These were approximately $200 worth of items collected over a period of time. That is actual theft causing you actual material loss. Just saying. Not the a-hole. If she's not willing to return or replace the supplies, then I say take her to small claims court and get reimbursed. Son might enjoy the process. Let him decide. Not the a-hole, and tell your mom to visit somewhere with elite cooking, like Italy or France, and see how many bakers are men. She has some outdated beliefs that are her problem, and not yours or your son's. I feel so bad for him though. That must have been really hard on him. Kudos for having his back. My mom is the most stubborn person ever. She would probably still disapprove. After this stunt, I have totally washed my hands off her. She can continue being backwards for all I care, as long as it's far away from my kids. You let her stay till morning. That was the wrong decision. You should have kicked her out and held her belongings ransom. Fair is fair. Maybe then she'd find an appropriate hobby that isn't bullying your kid. You legit let her in your house with that behavior? Apologize to your son for allowing it. I let her stay until morning, only because it was already late and she stays far. I really do wish I would have thought of holding her things ransom at the time, but I wasn't thinking straight. Thing is, she only said these things to me not around my son, and like I said on the post, I always made sure to tell her that she was wrong and sexist. I just never imagined she would take it this far. Yes, there were other ways that you could have handled this situation, but what you did do is still important. You did a great job in setting a hard boundary with your mother, and yes, you are a good parent to your son. Kudos. I appreciate that. Thank you. I still feel like I could have done more though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law that she's the one who taught her son he could cheat and think he'd get away with it? About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me. The day I found out, I packed bags for me and the kids and left. I did not confront him about the cheating. I just let him know that our marriage was over, but that I hoped to work with him on an amicable divorce and custody arrangements. Of course he did all the cliche begging, crying, swearing he would change, that it was a mistake, and it meant nothing, blah blah blah. I just said, "That's nice. Well, let me know where to send the divorce papers." He was shocked. He told me before that his dad cheated on his mom, but she was able to forgive him. He must have expected me to do the same. Since then, I have only communicated with him about the girls. He is running in circles trying to get me to react to anything else he says. I give him nothing. He has begged me to just talk to him. I said that there is nothing to talk about. My mother-in-law confronted me outside the gymnastics gym. I was going to hand the girls off to her so they could spend time with Dad. Mother-in-law told me that she was very disappointed in the way I'm handling all of this, that she expected more maturity from me, and that she hopes it doesn't impact the girls negatively long-term. I let her say what she wanted. She's allowed her opinion, but she looked at me, waiting for a response of some kind. So I asked her, "Why are you directing your anger at me when your son is the one who ended this marriage?" She said that I am the one who chose to end the marriage, not him, that he was willing to work on it and go above and beyond to prove that it was a mistake, and all that nonsense, and how it was most shocking how cold I've become, that I won't even talk to him. I said, "Well, what is there to say? He decided to end the marriage. The time to go to marriage counseling was before he did what he did. There is nothing left to salvage. He made the decision, and now he lives with the consequences." She was getting herself all worked up and upset. Oh, boo-hoo. Don't you feel bad for tearing apart this family? Don't you want your daughters to grow up in a stable home? How could you walk away after all this time? She said she couldn't imagine breaking up her family over something like this. I said, "Well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You're the one who taught him this." She got that big shocked look on her face and told me that I was being a needlessly cruel monster over all of this. And, oh boo freaking who, she's disappointed. I'm not keeping the girls from him. I'm being helpful with those arrangements, and I plan to be generous when it comes to splitting time. I have no interest in taking anything that wasn't mine when we entered into our marriage. But somehow, I'm the cruel monster? How? I said, "Well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You are my heroine. Best to you and your kids." I would have added on, "You showed your son that he can cheat without consequences. However, I'm not raising my daughters to think this is acceptable for them to tolerate. Not the a-hole at all. Your soon-to-be ex sure is." Apparently, your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law listened to someone who gave her that same damned speech when her husband was out fooling around. And she bought it. How dare you not buy it? How dare you have your self-respect, dignity, and integrity, while she has a son who is no better than his cheating father? Not the a-hole. And there is absolutely no way on earth that I would set the example for the daughters that they should allow anyone to walk all over them like that. Heck no. Before we even got married, I told my husband cheating was a deal breaker. No forgiveness, just divorce. He was on board because his dad cheated on his mom, not the a-hole. My ex-husband and I had the same conversation. His father also cheated on his mom, but they stayed together, and I thought he was on the same page as me. Found out after 9.5 years together and 4.5 years married that he was seeing another woman, told her he cheated on her with me, the wife, got her pregnant, and then lied about all of it still until after the divorce. She knew he was married, and their twins were born on my birthday, before we were officially divorced, and still tried saying he wasn't cheating. Oh, and forced our 8-year-old autistic son to partake in his wedding to her, 6 weeks after our divorce, when my son had never even met the woman before. Now my son has nothing to do with him at 14. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my sister's autistic son leave my wedding, even though my fiancé's parents threatened to walk out? This happened a few weeks ago, and things are still tense. I, 28 female, recently got married to my now husband, 30 male. We planned a medium-sized wedding, about 80 guests, fairly traditional, nothing super fancy. My sister, 32 female, has a 9-year-old son, Jamie, who is on the spectrum. He's verbal but gets overstimulated easily and sometimes makes sudden loud noises or flaps his hands. We all love Jamie, and my sister takes amazing care of him. I've always included him in events and made sure he felt welcome. Fast forward to the wedding. Jamie was seated at the family table, and my sister had headphones, fidgets, a sensory kit, all that. During the ceremony, he made a couple of noises, nothing major, just excited squeals. It honestly didn't bother me. I barely noticed, but apparently my fiancé's parents were livid and called it disruptive. They pulled him aside afterward and asked him why a child like that was even invited to a formal event. They told him either Jamie had to leave before the reception or they would. My husband told me about it during cocktail hour. I was furious. I said, if they leave, they leave. I'm not kicking out my nephew because they can't handle a child being happy at a wedding. He backed me up, and Jamie stayed. They ended up walking out right before dinner. No speech, no toast, nothing. His dad called me a self-centered brat later and said I ruined their son's big day for a performative inclusion stunt. My sister cried when she found out. Jamie didn't fully understand, but he asked why some people don't like my happy sounds. Since then, there's been a rift. My in-laws think I disrespected them. Some of my own family members said I could have just asked my sister to bring Jamie to the ceremony, but not the reception, and compromised to keep the peace. But to me, that felt like telling my sister her son is a problem we need to hide. So, am I the a-hole for choosing my nephew over keeping the in-laws happy at my wedding? Why did anyone tell your sister? And why tell Jamie? Just let them leave and move on. They can go pout at home. Children are people too. Your in-laws were out of line telling you which people you could invite to your own wedding. This is what I don't understand and kind of throws me off. How did Jamie even know they left, let alone that they left because of him? And especially, how did he know enough to ask why people don't like his happy sounds? Was someone really an a-hole and told him all this? At his age, it would have been easy to not let him know. Sister was crying. Probably the easiest thing she could think to tell him was that. And to be fair, it's probably not the first time she's had that conversation with him. Not the a-hole. To hell with your ignorant, selfish in-laws. Performative inclusion stunt? They are ridiculous. Didn't they know about Jamie before the wedding? Had they ever met him? He sounds like a great kid, and sis is doing all the necessary things for him. The outlaws will just have to effing adjust. They sound hateful. The type of people who don't believe people with disabilities or other differences are welcome on this earth. They can only imagine inclusion is performative because they don't want to include others in their lives and want to erase all diversity from view. Their loss. Your nephew seems sweet. Kudos to your husband for breaking away from that aspect of his upbringing. Not the a-hole. As the mom of an additional needs child, thank you for loving your nephew. My sister got married a few years ago. It is her second marriage, so it was a small wedding. She had my daughter as her only bridesmaid. My nieces were both fine with it because their cousin got a chance to shine. Your nephew will always remember that you were on his side and that you aren't ashamed of him. Your in-laws are a-holes. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not staying the full week on a family vacation planned by my fiancé's parents? I, 30 female, am engaged to my fiancé John, 30 male. His family spends a lot of time together, holidays, weekends, and frequent get-togethers with all the siblings and grandkids. John's dad retired this past May, and we already had a retirement party for him. Now his parents have planned a family vacation in November to celebrate his retirement again. They rented a large house out of state and invited everyone, siblings, spouses, grandkids, etc., for a full week, Saturday to Saturday. John and I were clear from the beginning that we probably wouldn't stay the entire time. I've always expressed that Thanksgiving is an important holiday for me to spend with my own family, and John told his parents early on that he wasn't sure we'd stay the full week because it was a long trip. We decided we'd attend the trip from Saturday through Wednesday, then head home so we could spend Thanksgiving with my family. Since then, there's been some subtle pushback. His parents have said things like, "It's just one Thanksgiving," or asked if John could stay even if I left. They've also said this is the first time the whole family is doing a trip like this in years, and it might not happen again. I understand they're excited about the trip, and we're not trying to skip it, We're planning to be there for 5 full days, but I don't think it's fair to expect every adult to give up a full week of their own time and holiday plans, especially when we made our intentions clear up front. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to stay the full week, even if it's disappointing to his parents? Edit. Many people asked about the subtle pushback. It was subtle in that they are communicating with John. His mom blew up when they asked about booking flights, and he said, "Yep, our plan is to come Saturday to Wednesday to get back to OP's family for Thanksgiving, since it's important to her." She went off saying, "It's just one. She can't miss just one? And can't you just stay?" Then he left that conversation upset, and we got in an argument about holding the boundary because he is a peacekeeper and tends to people please. Then a couple of weeks later, they asked him to come for dinner, and both his mom and dad pressed more, saying, "It's just one. Can't you just stay?" And then they told him he needs to advocate for himself. He was great about all of this. He held the boundary and told them this is a we decision and that this is what we are comfortable with. He told them he doesn't want to be away from his fiancée on the holiday. Not the a-hole. They do not have exclusive rights over your spare time. You and your fiancé are adults and have every right to choose where to spend holidays. They can host family time, but can't dictate how you spend all your holidays. At the age of 30, they can't dictate at all. They can host and invite, but the OP can decline. Not the a-hole. You have offered a reasonable compromise between their desire to host their entire family and your desire to spend the actual holiday with your family. His parents have said things like, "It's just one Thanksgiving." Just a heads up on this. Once you are married, you are probably going to have to figure out how to split holidays between your and your husband's families. Only ever going to one family's place for a particular holiday can build up resentment in the other. It's just one Thanksgiving can turn into, "She can't even spend one Thanksgiving with us," after a couple of years. It can even build resentment in your spouse, as they may want to sometimes spend that holiday with theirs. My own sister-in-law was like this when she married my brother, and after a few years, he got mad over it, and it caused some issues in their relationship, which they have since fixed. We talked it through and decided that since Thanksgiving is especially important to me, we'll spend Thanksgiving with my family every year. In return, because Christmas Eve is important to his mom, we've committed to spending Christmas Eve with his family every year. His mom has said she doesn't really care about Thanksgiving, so this feels like a fair and thoughtful compromise. His family usually does Thanksgiving as a daytime gathering centered around watching football, which doesn't really overlap with my family's dinner-focused celebration. But even though there's no direct conflict, I don't really want to split the day between two families or bounce around, especially since I help cook the meal with my mom. So we think it's reasonable to just choose one celebration. If it helps ease any tension, he's welcome to go to his family's gathering during the day. But I'd plan to stay home and spend that time cooking and preparing with my family. Given that we already spend most other holidays, Easter, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, with his family, this setup feels balanced and fair. We'll continue to check in and make sure it stays that way.